How do you find one of the advice questions that people wanted me to address? One of the questions was how to meet a man. I love this question because, I met Schman sitting next to him on an airplane. I never had any luck dating online. I never had any success being hooked up through friends. I worked out at a gym where like the woman that was my trainer, who was so sweet, there was another mom there. She like introduced me to her son. That like didn't work. We went out on one date and it was like zero chemistry. So I love this question. How do you meet somebody? I'm a huge person of meeting people in real life. And how do you do that? I think you do things that get you out of your comfort zone. You have to be in two places with relationships. You have to be so good and in love with yourself that you are good whether you find somebody or you don't. That's very hard to do. Very hard to do. But what happens is you end up giving off a healed vibe because the ultimate thing is, right, you want to attract somebody, especially for women. You don't want to attract a guy who like needs a mother, right? I mean, that's what therapy's for once he's grown, to deal with that. And everybody comes to a relationship with issues, every single person. But the degree of like how much they've worked on themselves is important. You want somebody that is willing to go to therapy with you or work on themselves, address issues. They don't have to be, it's not like Schman's this overly emotionally sensitive person. I mean, I thought he was a robot for the first 3 years of our marriage, but then things got better. I'm a big proponent of check in with yourself. How are you feeling? Like I realized before I attracted Schman, probably like, I think about 6 months, a year, I really was like, I didn't even like myself or like love myself. Like I never even said to myself, you're okay. Like the way that you are, you're okay. Whatever weight I was, however I looked, like whatever, at the time I was in between jobs. So I didn't have a job. So I was feeling like, well, who wants to date somebody who's like fun employed? That's a red flag. I was living with my gunkles in Connecticut. I mean, so you have to be in love with yourself. That's the first thing. Because then once you are good, you attract people like left and right. It is the law of the universe. It's true. Second thing is I like getting out of my comfort zone. So do things that are different. Go to the party that you've said that you like, your friend invites you to a party. You're like, I don't want to go. Go to that. Like, you don't have to do it every time, but do things that are outside your box, out of your same routine, hanging out with different people. That's where you begin to you never know where you're going to attract that person. Like I said, chat somebody up on an airplane. And I'm sorry, I know our parents always told us don't talk to strangers. I talk to strangers all the time. Now, do I keep it at a distance? Yeah. But one of the best ways, go to a bar by yourself. If you're meeting a girlfriend for a drink, go a half an hour early and sit at the bar by yourself and just see what happens. Are you probably going to attract a 65-year-old guy who's been divorced twice? Yeah. But you know what? You never know. You have a conversation with him. You learn something. He has a colleague that's coming. You never know if unless you put yourself out there. Because I think it can get, from what I hear from my girlfriends, discouraging online. I think it's so hard to meet people online. However, I've had many of friends get married to the person that they met online. And some people I think are actually better tailored to online than they are to in person. Because lots of times, like actually, I think Schman would have been really good online because Schman's a person, first impression, you're like, I don't know, he's a little like standoffish. So it took me the first date, like the first time I met him on the airplane, I probably never would have given him my business card. I didn't even give him my phone number because I was so disenfranchised with men. That's how healed I was. I was like, you want me? You could fucking email my radio station email. So Schman would be a good onliner though, because he's just a person he's a great writer. He's kind of witty online. And then in person, like it takes a while to warm up to him. And then of course, like you're madly in love. That's how I feel about my Schmano. So try different things. See if you're good at online dating. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. Maybe in person is where you thrive. The other thing people wanted to know, how do you find a good therapist? Love this. Well, shameless plug for ZocDoc, which is a client, ZocDoc.com/TSFS. You can go there and look for one. Advertising plug. But you just have to try. It's like moving here to LA. It takes, I swear, if you're in a new city or you're trying to find new doctors, I think it takes about a year to find a good doctors, good dentists you like, therapists, all that stuff. And I always think the sign of a good therapist, because when I met Robin Mize, my mindful eating therapist, the first thing she did on the first session, she said to me, if I'm not a good fit for you, I can give you other recommendations. Like, and I loved, to me, that like resonated, because I don't want to feel, especially with therapy, that I'm being sold. Like, I'm paying. And the other thing with therapy is you find the good ones usually don't take insurance. That's the truth. It sucks. But actually both therapists that I've ever had never have taken insurance. Most of my I've had a couple good acupuncturists that take an insurance, but for the most part, the good ones don't. So I think you have to try people, what they say, what should resonate. And also you should have a therapist that, the other thing that Robin told me is Robin said to me, if I'm doing my job, you will not need me for life. You will need me for a period of your time to heal trauma and you'll move on. I think that's the other thing that's a good thing. You don't need the person forever. Shman and I, with our couples counselor, we used to go every 2 weeks. Now we're down to once a month. And it's just really, we need her more as like, it forces us to check in on bigger emotional things that we get busy doing and we don't. So there you go. Last one is, could you talk more about mindful eating? That's a whole podcast in itself. I will do a whole podcast on mindful eating because you guys know I'm anti-Ozempic. And by the way, yesterday, Emily Oster, if you're not following her, you should. She's an economist from Brown University. She's been on my podcast because she wrote a very famous book, Expecting Better. If you're expecting a baby, go and read the book. It's unbelievable. It disproves a lot of the crazy information that we've been told. It doesn't disprove it. It just, like, things like, this one's very controversial, but you can't drink during your pregnancy. I disagree with Emily on this because I just don't think there's any upside to having a drink, period. But again, I'm a little bit of a crazy, cautious person. But anyhow, but she also talks about women over 40. 60% of women over 40 will get pregnant naturally within a year of trying. She talks about the percentage rate of women that get pregnant from 35 to 39. It's very, very high. It's like 70%, 80%. She talks about miscarriage numbers, that we have this like fear of miscarriage, but really that fear is like only substantiated for like the first 7 weeks or something. It's so good. Expecting Better is like awesome. But Emily came out, she has a newsletter. You can sign up on her Instagram, which is just Emily Oster. And yesterday she dropped this whole thing on Ozempic. Facts about it, why people are so fired up, and go and read it. The bottom line is this. I told you. Everybody that goes off it gains all the way back. Nobody knows the long-term fucking effects of Wegovy, Mounjaro, or Ozempic. If you have any thyroid issue, you're advised not to go on it because it could lead to thyroid cancer. It led to thyroid cancer in mice. They're not sure if that will translate to humans. And they also don't know if it will stop working at some point. And not only that, they feel like it will lead to more fat shaming because people are going to be like, get your fucking ass on Ozempic if you're fat. I don't see any benefit to this drug. And I will say, and I can't take credit for this because it's Sammy, who's one of the co-founders of Betches, obviously Betches, the very famous brand, did a video last week and I loved it. She said, I see an awful lot of people talking about how much they love their Ozempic and Wegovy and Mounjaro, but I don't see their workout videos. I don't see them talking about how they've addressed their emotional eating problems. I don't see them talking about how they've changed their diet. And I'm like, yeah, because people want a quick fix. They don't. Most people, there are exceptions. Some people should be on Ozempic, clearly. Diabetics, insulin issues, But even that, 70% of people who are on Ozempic have to stop the drug within 2 years. The side effects are so gnarly, stops working, causes other problems.